All right. Good afternoon and welcome. Good day. Happy Friday. Let me this up slightly and the sound off. Welcome to everyone. Let's find the browser. Browser we want. So yes, hello and welcome. My name is Tim. I go by Foamy Guy on GitHub and Discord. This is the Deep Dive, which is a weekly live stream where we are working on some CircuitPython stuff. This stream was started by and is typically featuring Scott Shawcroft, the lead developer of CircuitPython. He's out for a couple of weeks on parental leave, and then he'll be back for a few weeks, and then he will be back out again for another chunk. Here, 1 second. My apologies. Okay, I thought the cat was getting into something. So Scott will be back eventually, but he'll be gone again as well eventually. And then I tend to be filling in on this stream when I can, anytime that Scott's not around. If you are new and you haven't caught the stream before, you don't know what this is about or what I'm talking about, the super quick version is CircuitPython is what we're working on. CircuitPython is a version of Python that is made to run on tiny computers called microcontrollers. And we are kind of working on CircuitPython itself or the libraries and surrounding stuff on this stream. Scott, as a lead developer, tends to be working on whatever the cutting edge stuff that is going to be available for CircuitPython soon is. That tends to be what he's working on. I do sometimes venture into the core, but not quite as deep as him. And I also do a fair amount of work in libraries and stuff like that. So today we are picking it back up in the display text library, kind of continuing on what I was working on last week. Let us also say before we dive in, so CircuitPython, if you are new and you want to learn more about it, circuitpython.org, this is the main website for it. You can learn more there. And as always, I will say, you know, CircuitPython, it's a free and open source project. All the work that goes into CircuitPython is published openly on GitHub. But the way that works, the company that makes that possible is Adafruit. They are paying the team of folks who work on the project full-time, like Scott, and some folks like me who work on it part-time. And so huge thanks as always to them. And if you want to help support CircuitPython, one of the easiest ways to do it is just purchase hardware from Adafruit. They have, you know, all kinds of different hardware, like the microcontrollers themselves that run CircuitPython, as well as all sorts of doodads that you can hook up to your microcontroller to do stuff with, including every kind of glowy and blinky rainbowy thing that you could imagine. So if blinky RGB lights are your thing, head over there. If you want some microcontrollers, head over there. In any case, thank you for shopping with them if you do, because that is helping them keep paying the folks working on the project. Why did that pop up? That's interesting. All right, so I am, like I said, this is diving back into display text. You know what? I just realized I have covered up the chats. I cannot see the chats. Hello to Beata over on YouTube. Nice to see you this week, my friend. Let me scooch these somewhere where I can see them. I think also turn this off quick. Okay. To here, put this up here. Okay, here we go. All right, so for anybody that missed last week, I will say if you want the kind of prequel to what you're about to see today, you can go back and watch last week. I am continuing on with the TextBox widget. In particular, stuff that I mentioned wanting to do at the end of last week, which is refactor it to not just be a copy. I should already have this. In fact, I think it's already open. I want to refactor it to be a copy, well, not a copy, but a subclass of bitmap label. And once we've done that, we'll have to shift around some stuff, but we will get to drop some of the duplicated code, which is nice. Hello over on Discord to Yano. Nice to see you as well, my friend. Let's see. So So right now this extends label base because it started life effectively as just a copy paste of bitmap label, which extends label base. What I would like to do is make it, let's rename this one. In fact, I don't want to like refactor it really. Let me just out of the IDE and rename it here. I find the IDE wants to be going and trying to change all the code references and stuff. That's not really what I'm after. I think you can uncheck some boxes or whatever, but, and this is easier, text box. So this is going to be, I'll just say original, and then we're going to make a new one, which will start with a lot of the same stuff, but we are going to extend bitmap. Well, it's actually just called label, but it comes from bitmap label, so we will say bitmap label.label, and then we will word no longer label base, but from here, nope, not all of that. We want just word map label. Say bitmap label.label, so that's what we're extending now. Okay, and then we will still take some of the code from here. And then a lot of this, I'm gonna just get that automatically because we extend it? I don't remember. I think we might get some of that automatically. It'd actually be better if we didn't have to take this. I just fixed this on a different one in the base. Okay, we'll wrap back around to that. It'd be good if we could get away from using this. The problem with this one is that it makes it so that it won't tell you that you gave a bogus argument, which will then potentially throw you off, because if you have a typo, it's not going to tell you like, hey, that thing you put doesn't exist. It's just going to like pass it in and not do anything, which is not great. Okay. So did we change... What all did we change? Did I change some stuff inside of both place text and reset text? And the other thing that we will want to do at this point is merge in... Well, actually, it depends if we changed in here. If we didn't change here, we may not have to worry about that. Okay, let's see what all... Let me compare this to bitmap labels, since that's what it started. Greetings and salutations over to Gordy G in YouTube. Nice to see you, my friend. Oh, my YouTube's cut off there, isn't it? Let's see. There we go. I think that's visible now. Okay, so there's const, there's a name, just a bunch of these things are gone. So we will end up locked into left to right. We'll end up locked into that for TextBox for now. Tithe, nice to see you as well. How's it going? Nice one doing all the how to install buttons. Yeah, yeah. Shout out to Maker Melissa as well. Hug report. For Melissa as well, did a lot of the third-party ones, which is even tougher than the Adafruit ones sometimes, since the guides make it super easy. With the kwargs, how could you avoid that missing error? How could you avoid that missing error message problem? Would you need the base class bitmap label to check all the kwargs for validity? So the easiest way, in my mind, to avoid it is to just not accept the dynamic, just not accept the wildcard, basically. This PR from just the other day, in fact, inside of label base, changed it so that label base will not accept that kwargs. And in fact, inside of here, the only thing it was being used on was this, which is not really relevant anymore. And even if this were relevant still, by getting rid of kwargs here, it makes it so that any arguments you pass that don't exist raise an error that say this argument doesn't exist. So if you were to pass max glyphs, this was telling you it's not needed anymore. The new one will have a slightly different error. It will say like that argument doesn't exist, but it's like effectively telling you the same thing. You don't need to do that, or you shouldn't do that, to be even more, I guess, forceful about it slightly. It does get weirder, though, because this one is labeled base, and so the superclass of that is group, and group doesn't really take all that many other arguments. Like scale is the only other one, and scale is handled manually inside of here. For label and bitmap label... Does this one do kwargs? It does actually do kwargs. Actually, maybe it doesn't matter that our subclasses take that? I don't know. We'll need to check on that, because I did test passing in those things. Label. Interesting. Maybe it's only a superclass problem. Maybe we don't need to worry about that with the subclass. I don't know. I'll have to test what happens if you pass in invalid arguments. But yeah, that's the crux of it. Is if we're not using this thing, then it will automatically kind of raise errors for the arguments that aren't real. Now the downside is if we need to do that in here, then we do need to like declare manually a bunch of the parents' arguments, which is kind of not super nice, but not the end of the world either, I don't think. We'll see though, because like this did work as expected, and label, which is what that test was using, does still do the kwargs thing. So this must be like, this must be a superclass problem more than a subclass problem, I suppose. I don't know. I can't say as though Python inheritance, like, I don't necessarily know all of the ins and outs of it. I know the basics of how it works, and I have a history of inheritance from Java that kind of maps onto how Python works in some ways. But I do tend to find stuff surprising sometimes, so there's probably some bits I don't get. Okay, yeah, we were looking at this, and what all did we change here? So some stuff inside of init. We completely haven't overridden init, so we don't need to worry about that. So yeah, reset text. I did change some stuff in. It's actually only save text. Maybe we don't need to do that. Oh. Okay, it's not only that. Okay, so we have a little bit more. This is in reset text still, right? I wish it would give me those top things like it does in the editor. Yeah, this is reset text. Okay, so yeah, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our modified reset text. We're gonna take our modified reset text. Text bounding box. Okay, so that's all the same, so we don't need to have that. That will just exist from super. Place text. So this did change a lot. This has all the bits about alignment and where we start. So place text and reset text, both of those we are gonna override. Split. We took out some new lines or put in some new lines or something one way or another, but that's not functional. We can just not do that. That will come from super. Okay, reset text. Place text. Yeah. Okay. Place text. Did it suddenly fail or anything? Some warnings, but it's just because it doesn't know what some of this stuff is. Glyph, I probably don't have whatever it wants for like font.io probably or something. Okay, so that's place text. We want reset text also, which is up, I think, or yeah. I could fold from here. Okay. And then the rest should just work. I don't know if I actually believe that all the way, but it might be true. Let's move this onto a device. I loaded this up yet. Actually, this is on new IP now? What is this? See it. It is on, I think, even a different new IP. That's weird. Oh no, it's the same new IP. Okay. Whoops. I don't even know what I just did. RSTP. Select video mode. That is the video mode. What are you talking about? It's not the video, apparently. PyPortal. PyPortal, I'm pretty sure PyPortal has display text frozen because it's used by Portalbase. So if you want to do library development on display text on the PyPortal, I believe you need to not, I believe you need to put your modified one, the one you're developing on, I think you need to put it in the root of CircuitPy, not inside of lib. You put it inside lib, the frozen one will take precedent. If you put it in the root, then the one you're working on, when the one you're developing with, will take precedent over the frozen one. You could also post it with a different name if you wanted. Like sometimes what I'll do is tack on _PR at the end of the library. Then it has a different name. Then you can just import it with _PR also. Yep. Let's go to code. This is doing a button thing. This was testing. This was testing a different thing I fixed. Button empty label fix. Delete this. Start with actually I don't have a I do have a TextBox simple test. Nice. Oops. Whereas after root, the priority is frozen and then lib. Gotcha. Box has no attribute lines. Text. Lines was, I thought, something we added. So I'm gonna just go to the device to develop for now. We were in the repo, but now that we're on the device, it's probably just easier to do stuff here. Lines set here. Okay. Look in the TO. Okay, so 73 is before 78, so fair enough. So it called super, then it went to bitmap label, which called init, which called reset text and place text. What if we don't do this and move this down to here? Different. Okay, 75. Box has no attribute text. Are we not creating it? The latest version? 3. Oh, it's passing it in. Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. So lines is wrap text to pixels, and then text becomes join lines. So text replace tabs needs to come after that. And I don't know why it worked before. We still have the same problem, actually, because this takes text. So what was happening was we were calling super further up, and when we called super, that was actually setting the text for us, the underscore text. I mean, we can, I guess, just say text equals text, but we don't actually have text, so that's coming from kwargs. We have the same problem with the paddings. Which also we're getting set by super. So maybe we should not try to put super after. So really confused with this. Why? Padding, so padding is new stuff? No, there's padding in this. Padding gets set inside of reset text the first time. Which is also the same in mine. Although actually they're only getting set in the background type. That could be the problem. Could be a problem at least. Because how does that work? Because do they get set by label base also? Set by label base also. Can you So we kind of have a chicken and egg problem. We can't call super because super calls reset text. It's not fold. Super calls reset text. Reset text assumes that all these variables will exist. Most importantly, lines. And super is calling our modified, super init is calling our modified reset text. Which is then trying to access lines and not working. And then we can't really put lines here. We can't put lines before super because lines uses underscore text, which gets set inside of super, padding left and padding right, which also gets set inside of super. Technically inside of super, because they get set in label base, not bitmap label. So, I mean, we know that those are all the things we need. I guess we could just get them all. Are we going to want to call reset text again? No. Do we need to do that one? Maybe we don't need to do that one. Okay, we do need to do that one because this is going to try to use it, but we don't have to use self. So we want lines to go before super, but we could just say text. Well, we can't just say text, but we can say kwargs.getText. Or none? Text none by default or empty string? String. Let's keep that. I mean, I think there's code that does make it work the same anyway, but... Okay, width is already set. Padding we're setting. Padding right we're setting. Font got passed to us. I don't know, why are we taking font but not like text and stuff, right? Do we need to be taking font? I guess we need font. I mean, but we could get it from super. I don't know. Let's just keep it. I mean, we need font because we want to wrap to pixels. But we could say kwargs.getFont. Could we? No, because font is not a kwargs, actually. Font is the one, that's why. Font is the one positional argument for bitmap label. And for label base, I think, in particular even. I guess save text is, well, but it has a default, so doesn't that make it a kwarg? I don't know. Okay, we should have everything we need to do the lines, and then we should, I think we should do this after this super, because this super is gonna technically set it to some stuff we don't really want it to. So, is that true though? Because it's gonna call our reset text. I don't know. We should do this before or after. Let's see what happens. Has not crashed yet. Nice. Okay. Doesn't seem like it's working either though. I feel like our new lines. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna have to call reset text again. So something that's kind of weird is this means we're gonna be technically calling reset text inside of super init, and then we're just gonna come outside of it and do it again. It's not the best, but I guess we could like make another argument for bitmap label that says do the reset or not, and then wrap this in a if statement, but like that feels not great. Maybe we should just take all of this stuff from here and not call super. Is it bad to not call super init? I mean, yes, right? Because then we're not going to call label base super init. Yeah, I think we have to call super init because we want label-based super init to get called too. If we could, like, can you skip a level of inheritance? Can TextBox, which extends bitmap label extends label base, can TextBox call super init on label base and skip bitmap label? I don't think so, right? Is that gonna, I doubt it. It's two positional arguments, one we're given. Yeah, I don't know how to do this. I saw this code earlier, but I don't know if that's right. It doesn't take keyword arguments. Yeah, I don't know about that. Super init? Maybe. IDE thinks those are different somehow. Object super has no super. Doesn't have. I didn't print it. It's like, what? Has nothing. For a second, I was like, why did that go 3 times? But yeah, we have 3 of them on the display. Yeah. Not sure if that's possible. Okay. I think we just kind of pretty much bite the bullet and reset another time after we get out. It is awkward though, because but we saw that it's calling our reset, right? So our reset should be good, but the problem is that we want these to be different first. So if we don't do this, but do put these above here, but then this is gonna override underscore text. Yeah, I don't think that's what we want really, because that's gonna leave us with underscore text basically not having new lines, I think. I guess we could. No, we're gonna have to reset it again after. Okay. Oh. Okay. I guess this one really I was imagining being here. So that should show no new lines the first time. Yes, new lines the second time. No new lines and then yes, new lines. No new lines and then yes, no. But visually it's still not working. Hmm. Place text gets called from reset text. Bounding box? Should bounding box be wrong? So one thing is the problem only with dynamic height? It might be a problem only with dynamic height. So the looking at this closer, the alignment's actually working. So center got centered. There is a second line that we're missing, but it did align correctly, and then right also got aligned to the right. It's hard to see a little bit, but I don't know. You can kind of anyway. It's hard to see, but it aligned to the right, and spaces on the left. So that part's actually working. Did I not copy something that uses dynamic? This height equals dynamic height, height equals box Y. That's from bounding box. That text. I wonder. Why that's not. Box Y is box Y. Will then become height. Dynamic height box Y is 12. Oh, maybe I know what's wrong. Oh. I don't know if 12 is right. Okay, let's try not dynamic. I don't know how tall the default font is. Yeah. Okay, so dynamic height is broken only, basically. If we manually set the height big enough, then it will show our stuff and it will work correctly. Got hung up on super and it seems like bases gives us access to the super class, etc. It looks something like bases 0 in itself, except underscore bases. Oh yeah, Discord. Yeah, Discord uses underscores for Alex or something else. Bases 0 init, except that would be one level. Print bases. I wonder if we have that in CircuitPython. It's not defined. It might be a thing that doesn't exist in CircuitPython. This dot or self dot. Basis. This is on the first one? Yeah, 82. It's not a... Well, it would have found a function too, I think. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'll have to look into that. I've not heard of that. Probably a C Python thing that doesn't have support in CircuitPython yet. Or MicroPython, really, because it would be up to them to implement that, I think. So yeah, 12 is wrong. Why are we getting 12 when we should be getting more? That's the real question. Right? Because that's printing out dynamic height 12, and we should be closer to probably double that, honestly. That sounds like one line. I think that might be one line, and so we should be double because we have one new line. And I did 20, and we almost have the full thing there. If I do 24, then... Oh, no, I did 24. Well, so we have line spacing, which is some amount of pixels also. I don't remember how many. And we're not doing spacing, not having any spacing here. In fact, the G's are touching the bottom. So it would be a little bit bigger. But we did have it working with dynamic height to do that. So why did that break? Okay, I don't think this will make a difference. Yeah, didn't really make it. And check if it was still 12, yeah. So we call text bounding box, we give it text and font. Text is an argument. And when we call that at the end of init, we pass in self.text, which we have definitely set right here to have new lines. I mean, we kind of know it has new lines because we can see them when we make it big enough. So was there a change in text bounding box that I missed? We compared this to bitmap label? So this part's the same. It calls text bounding box. We had this. We now use width and height. height would be box Y when it's dynamic and should grow to fit, because that's what the old behavior did. Okay, bounding box. Setting the bounding box. So bitmap label has a bunch of stuff for the different directions, which I don't intend for TextBox to support, at least at first. So else looks like the same though. Bounding box equals tile grid X, padding left, tile grid Y, padding top, type box X, type box Y. And I guess we must still be in a padding type. Text string is not empty. We're not actually in an if padding type. But we get a type box X and Y anyway, actually. Height and width. Do I need to have those? Yeah, I need to have those. I probably need to have those, actually. Because otherwise... I don't know. It's something to try. This is all place text. Split. Where's bounding box? And we looked at all the changes, so I guess there's no changes. Text bounding box. It has no changes. So it must be the missing width and height things. Do those exist in bitmap label? No. But maybe label base. Yes. I guess it doesn't work this one because they're manually set. We guess. See how it plays out. Where'd those go? I didn't see it reset, but I assume that it did and still is not working. It's weird. So one thing we could do actually to stop the super from doing anything inside of reset text is we could try to not give it text. If we gave it empty for text, then it will do some of this initialization stuff, but not everything. We're replacing tabs here. We probably don't need to do that inside of init. Well, that's interesting. You can pass text in, or if you don't, it will just use underscore text. So why is the box Y coming out wrong now? Well, we don't have the bounding box, right? So it's weird that we ended up with 27 instead of 28. That's weird. I don't know what to make of that. I mean, basically, that just means that bounding box is not respecting the height we gave it. We probably just need to change that to use self.height. Okay, yeah, that's probably it. More interestingly, perhaps though, these ones. So this is when the super class calls reset text, and then we call it after, and we do actually call it with 27, which probably is the dynamic height that would be correct. Ooh, why didn't it work? Let's see if let's try to do that none trick. Can I remove something from kwargs so that when we pass it to super, it will be none? Or I can just, if I overwrite it by passing text also? So we have this, can I say text equals none? And then even though text is in kwargs, will it use this instead? No, got multiple. Okay, we need to remove it from kwargs. Kwargs dot pop. Why does it take another thing? Wait, what? A and D. Those are very helpfully named. I mean, I guess K would be key. Would D default? I guess default because it's going to return it, and that would be what it returns if it's not there. That's probably it. Still key and default would be better, though. Okay, so then this will make text none when we call super, but then when we call reset ourselves, we will use text. So this time we should get zeros after the first call, or in fact, the first call just doesn't happen, and hopefully that just fixed our problem, even though I have no idea why. Don't have any idea why. Why would that have fixed our problem? Doesn't that imply if we change the text, it's not going to work? Or is that not true? Is it not going to work? It's because we have dynamic. So if we change it to like something that needs more lines, is it going to not work? work. So I don't think it worked. Oh, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? Right, text area. Because that kind of implies if you call reset text again, it's not going to work, since we called it twice and it didn't work the second time. And then we made it not call the first time, and then it started working. And that kind of just auto reload at an inopportune time. We should probably print out. So it's doing something. It did something, but it did not work. We ended up on. You know what it did is it didn't put the new lines back. We need to override the text property. So right now we're not overriding text. So that means we're just using bitmap label text. So when we set it, it's not going to automatically put those new lines in for us. We need to do that ourselves. It's kind of weird that it still looks right aligned, but it technically would have just kept going out here, I think. So like this stuff, we need to do this inside of the property to set text. Can you do this even though like that? Oh, but you can say this. Can you say super? No. Or map label.label? Okay. Oh, we need to call reset text. Does this even have a text setter? Or is that actually in label base? Label base. It's in label base. Property. So text, it calls underscore set text. Set text. What does set text do? Why? There's a set text, there's a place text, and there's a reset text. Fix the scale. Weird. I guess we just do the same thing though. But instead of new text, it will be what is now self.underscore text. Have the new lines and stuff. Never did add the print. We can see that it happened there, but it's actually working right. Find a place to go to. But we know, and then we know we hit the end of reset text. So does our text just get passed through? Print inside reset text. Text. No, let's do text. This is an optional string. Let's do this after this. And then we're setting it to... So this is actually a little weird how this is working, right? Because we say if text is none, then use underscore text, and then we change underscore text, and then later on we go on to do stuff with text. But we have changed we have changed underscore text by getting rid of the tabs. And we had set text to underscore text, but because we changed it after, they're no longer in sync anymore. So are we even getting the new values? I don't think that's right. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 3, 4, 5, and then 3 on the next. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 3 on the next. Yeah, we're not actually getting the rest. But I did times 6, so we should have more. So are we going inside of our own... Uh-oh. 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 This is unused. It's not ideal. Okay. So we need to generate lines again, actually, as well. Then lines will come from text. Font. Whoops, that was supposed to be a paste. Font is hopefully self.font. And then text gets set from lines, and then replace tabs, then original text, and then we call set text to make it actually go to the display. Ooh. Closer. So this worked. This it knows it needs to be bigger. It just didn't actually make itself bigger. So yes, was the answer to doesn't that imply that changing the text won't work? Yes. It does imply that changing the text won't work. So why is that not working? That's because of... Why is that because of? So we are not recreating the bitmap. Where does the bitmap get created? Goes by width and height. And this is inside reset text. Height? Looks like it gets regenerated, but it's only... Actually, it seems like height should get regenerated. But... So there's no... It doesn't... It doesn't print dynamic height. So the problem is actually that we're changing height from dynamic height to box Y. And then the next time we come through here, it's whatever it was. It's no longer dynamic height. So really, it's kind of bad that we are reusing the height variable to do kind of two things. Like sometimes it holds a flag that tells it to use dynamic height, and other times it holds a literal number that represents the actual height in pixels, which are related, but also two different things. So we could just not use self.height here. But I think we want to, I think we do want to, I think we do want to set self.height because we want width and height to return appropriate values. So if you use dynamic height and you set your text to be big enough that it has to get bigger in the box, then if you ask it for its height, it should give you back the new correct height. So it needs to update its height. Yeah, we need to let it do that. So I think the answer is take this out of underscore height and make a separate flag for it, basically. So we have width and height, but instead of just setting height to height, what we're going to do is we're going to say if height is not the dynamic height flag, if it's not that, then set it to the number. But if it is that, also we're going to say dynamic height equals true, dynamic height equals false, and I guess, do we have to set it? Wait, this is wrong though. This should be false and this should be true. Do we need, I don't know if we need to set it. Let's see what happens if we don't set it. So now we're gonna have self.dynamic height. That's a separate Boolean. So now we can go and say, instead of if height, self.height, instead of this, we can just say self.dynamic height. Another thing that I don't know if it works is changing the size. Like, could you go and change the height after the fact? Probably not right now. Or width, either. I guess probably doesn't work right now. Let me catch up on the chat here. Yeah, the old storing the state in hidden places. Yep, never. I'd never be caught doing such things. Chuckle. Got a bit more on super. Looks like bases is only off the classes type. So type self bases. Definitely in MicroPython 1.19. Nice. Try passing the parent class to skip them. Try passing the parent class to skip then self as args. So super parent class self. That should skip bitmap label. Interesting. The last one was method resolution order, MRO. But that didn't work. Man, I've never heard of that either. One second, I'm gonna turn the light on because it's getting a little dungeony in here now. Oh dear. Gonna green screen my face, maybe. Let's see. Super bitmap label self init. I will try it, although at this point I think I'm comfortable calling to the parent one without skipping. Because we made text none, because we got rid of text from kwargs, calling the super one actually is way less of a problem anymore. Would we want to, yeah, we would want to comment that to try it. I will try it though, because I'm curious. So if you said super app label, and then self, editor knows about. It's calling init. We wouldn't be passing lines though. Definitely my editor's just making that up. Font, I guess. So this would call, and this would call label base.init. I don't know if it will work with the current logic. It does actually work with the current logic. Hey, that works now too. Nice. That's without popping. Maybe we do want to do that actually. Because that actually also stopped it from calling reset text multiple times. So that's really weird to me that you specify the one you want to skip. I would have thought for sure like you would put the one you want to use rather than putting the one you want to skip. That's crazy. I guess because you're saying super of this? Oh, the one to call super on. Oh, okay. We're calling super in the context of that one. And so normally when you don't put anything there, it defaults to you, which is why you get your parent. Okay. Okay. So, and yeah, we would still need the height thing. All the height stuff we just did still applies. And yeah, I think that's better to not have to kick it out of kwargs and stuff. I don't know that it matters too much at the end of the day, but it achieves the same thing without us having to randomly like ignore one of the arguments and just trust that we're gonna do something with it later on, which I kind of like. I mean, probably still ignoring it because label base doesn't, I think, just doesn't do anything with it basically. Just ignoring a different way. That's cool though. Super, remember that super. So you can pass in. I don't even think I have ever passed anything to super before. I saw some code that did that earlier today for something else I was looking at, and it didn't end up being what I needed at the time. One thing that is a bit odd is these are always coming out at 0, -6, which I don't get. But doesn't break the functionality at all. Okay. So now changing the text works. Changing the size work? I doubt it, right? Let me not change the text, but instead change the size. I mean, I guess we really would just need to probably update the self.width and then I'll reset text. And it might work. So we set it to 190 originally. Let's make it smaller. Let's go to like, I don't know, 120. So right now it just doesn't like that. Property width can't be set. I think we have a getter, no setter, right? This is cool too, actually. This is another thing I would say that's new to me. Didn't know this was going to work, that you can override the setter of your superclass without having to also override the getter. Although in our case, maybe we would want to. Because I don't know. I guess if you call .text getter, you're going to get all the new lines. I got to get the cat distracted. Because my legs are going to become the cat distractor. The light makes me like Halo-y. Crazy. I have either fully dungeon or like looks like the sun is off camera. I gotta upgrade the camera. Yeah, we probably actually do want to have the getter because we probably want to return original text instead of underscore text. But actually, it occurs to me right now we're setting original text after we're changing text, so like that's not doing anything very useful, honestly. I don't even think this gets used really. Yeah, we set it, but it's not really getting used. I guess my thought process was to return it from the getter, but that would only make sense really if we set it before we do this. Which inside of here we would want to set it from this instead of underscore text. I don't know, was that being used in the old version? Actually had it there already. No. It's got set, but it was never used. So actually, okay. So here it was doing it after it replaced the tabs, but before it did the new lines. And I think that's actually replacing tabs with spaces, because I think our fonts don't really support tabs. So the way that we make tabs work is by replace them with a certain number of spaces. That, I think, is actually what we want. But somewhere along the way, I ended up with that coming after we put the new lines, which I think we don't actually want. I guess let's do original text equals it's like the OBS died on me, so hopefully it just came back by itself. YouTube still shows me as live. Restream, I think I messed up somehow today. Restream doesn't show me as live, but it actually didn't show me earlier that way, so I don't know what I did with Restream. Somehow I messed it up the way I tried to set the title or something. Hopefully we came back without too much of a terrible break there. See a couple of folks typing. Nice, okay. Yeah, sometimes the buffering will help out as well. I know I'm ahead of you all by a couple of seconds or whatever, and sometimes the buffer covers for small glitches. So it takes the font, text, the line spacing, and the scale. But pretty much all of those maybe we should just call set text like this one does. Set text we'll call reset text or whatever we need, basically. Nice. Oh. Actually. Okay, it needs to rewrap. It needs to rewrap. Yeah, needs to rewrap, which means I guess let's just go self.text equals self._text, because that will cause it to get rewrapped. And in fact, then we don't need to call set text, because that's going to happen anyway. I think my IDE doesn't realize that the property setter is here because of the way that's from super. There we go. Okay. Didn't spot much on Twitch. Nice. Okay. Hooray for buffering. Let's do height also. This one's going to be basically the same, but one thing we will do is we will also need to account for the dynamic, because you'll be able to set dynamic here. So it is weird. I broke this out internally as like a Boolean, but I think that I want to still externally allow you to set the height as the dynamic constant. So inside the property, I want you to be able to pass that dynamic, and it should handle it correctly. Which is weird, because it's kind of enshrining into the API that idea of dual usage, which is not the best. But the alternative is not good, I don't think, either, because the alternative is we would have to take height and dynamic height as a Boolean, and then there is like contradictory possibility, because if you pass a height in pixels and a dynamic height true, what should it do, right? Like it should raise an error and tell you can't do that, I guess. But if we only accept height and allow the constant to be passed there, then it is impossible for the user to give us contradictory instructions because it's an either or. That's actually the nice part about reusing the same property, but it does make the code awkward when, for a short period of time, height refers to maybe the flag or maybe the literal value, and then the rest of the time it refers to the literal value or the measured literal value. Like sometimes it's a static value the user set, and then sometimes it's the measured value. And then I do think when you request the height back, we want it to give you the number, because that's what's allowing me to go and say, like, put the yellow one below the green one, or more appropriately would be put the green one below the pink one, because the pink one is dynamic, and in my code it just says like xy 10 10, and then on the y here it's 10 plus the height of the first one plus another 10 for padding. So we need that to be the literal value when you access it. And then if you wanted, you could actually access the Boolean now as well. But all right, so when that gets passed in, if it's not the constant, set it literal. Put the constant, I'll put the Boolean to false, and then if it is the constant, then just set the Boolean to true. And we don't need to change the height. I'm pretty sure we can just leave the underscore height, whatever it is, and the next time the reset gets called, it will remeasure and set itself, and that is in fact going to happen right here when we reset the text to make it happen. Okay, so let's wait again after that. And right now this is on 38. Let's make this a bit bigger, actually. Let's make that 48 to start with. Let's throw in another sleep. And then let's go center text area dot height equals, let's change it to dynamic. Make sure that works. And it's not gonna change the location of the yellow. We could update it to do that as well. Okay, there we go. So that went back to dynamic. Very good. Let's also change to static. So we started on 48. Let's go to 38. Sure, we can go back to static. That gets bigger. That gets smaller. Then that gets bigger, but not as big as it was before. Okay. Am I missing anything? I don't know. I think we're pretty good. Tell you what. I gotta run the restroom. I will be right back. I'm gonna try changing the lights and see what it does as well. And I'll be back. Not really much better. Just the sun on the other side. Yeah. I do like this a lot better than just copy pasting bitmap label. I'm happy how this turned out. What did we end up? This is 407 lines. Original was 620 lines, so we cut out a lot of duplicated code. About 200 lines of stuff that was ultimately just duplicated. I think that bounding box is wrong. Yeah. That should be XY with height. And it seems like X and Y might work. Or I mean, it seems like width height might work. X, Y are not really. I mean, is that true though? Okay, hold on. Let me test something. App label simple test. I have this. Actually, we need to move this first. Box test. So we're setting X and Y to 1010. Isn't that what will be the bounding box then? And this is just bitmap label. Oh. Okay. Bounding box not supposed to be XY with height? Text? I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be XY with height. Of course, don't. Oh, I figured out how to fix this the other day too. It's like how the properties sometimes get two to a row instead of like all on their own. It's kind of, I don't really understand why they sometimes do and sometimes don't. This has to do with how long this is, maybe? I mean, this one's, I mean, that can't be it though, because that's shorter than that, right? So it's maybe how long this is and how long this is? I don't know. Anyway, I did figure out how to fix that the other day. It's something though we'd have to patch to all the libraries if we wanted to have it everywhere. It does say XY that completely covers all glyphs. The first two numbers are offset from the XY origin of this group. I don't know. I don't think I get what that means. But if we move these to 4040, they stay 0.6. Completely covers all glyphs. The first two numbers are offset from the XY origin of this group. Does label behave that way? Yes. So has it always done that? Is that right? That feels wrong. I mean, bounding box honestly is kind of a weird one anyway because like you can just access X and Y directly. The main reason to use bounding box kind of was get the width and the height, but because TextBox actually has width and height properties, it's not really necessary. I mean, maybe does label base have that? I don't know. The parent group tile grid can be moved and the label will still be positioned at grid X, grid Y, grid plus X, grid plus Y. I got the impression that every XY was relative to the grid group something. I get a bit confused. I must say I haven't visited for years. Yeah, it's odd. I would have thought it would be X and Y, but in any case, it's not specific to TextBox. It's doing it for both label and bitmap label. I'm inclined not to mess with it for now. But it does feel wrong to me because it seems like XY, it seems like it should be returning the X and the Y in my head, but same time it's like doesn't matter really because you can always just use .x and .y. So because I mean that 0, -6, like that doesn't really tell you anything useful after you like I think that's basically was like the original, I think that was like just the original location of where it was. That's like, why does that matter? Once you move it, it's no longer there. So that just returns tuple of bounding box. And we are setting bounding box. To algrid X plus padding. I think technically that should be so for bitmap label that should be the inner group. We don't have an inner group? Got an inner group. Local group. Actually, it wouldn't be local group, it would just be self. So local group gets scaled. Local group gets scaled. Nope, that's wrong, actually. No, that's right. Yeah, that's what this is saying. Self.set scale. Would that be self? I don't know. Scale will be defined in local group. So this is what was in my memory, was local group gets scaled, self instance does not. But for X and Y, the self instance X and Y would actually be what's moving the full label around. Pretty sure. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to change this for real, but I think that just doing self.x and self.y, I don't even think we should be adding those really, but I don't know that it matters again too much. Oh, I wanted to change this in the one on the device actually. I'm curious to see if it works after that, but I'm not actually going to do it as part of the TextBox PR because I don't fully understand all the ramifications it will have. Okay, and then this is wrong driver code. No, that didn't help. Oh, wait a minute. I think I just was not scrolled far enough, and it did actually help. Although, I should take out some of the times that it's changing. A lot of these are on 0, 0, which seem wrong. That part, those seem wrong. But then eventually, I think this is after we changed the size of right. Maybe. No. I don't actually, because we don't even get 120 in here, so the width doesn't seem the same either. I don't know, dude. Bounding box is all out of whack. I mean, realistically, I would expect bounding box of TextBox to return just XY width height. I think. But are we calling bounding box? I'm printing it. I am from here, actually. Right bbox I'm printing. But then all the other ones come from inside. I don't know if I was actually accessing them directly and roll back to those. Right B box. That one worked. For the time that it was printed, which was before we changed its width. If we did it after, then it would have a new height and a new width, but the same X and the same Y. Yeah. And then inside of here, I must be doing underscore bounding box, which is different because that's setting it here. So superclass is trying to return underscore bounding box. I overrode it temporarily to this. Those are the numbers I would expect to come out of it. But again, I'm kind of inclined not to do it right now because the two other labels both behave the same way. So it does not make too much sense, I don't think, for TextBox to be different. So if that's going to change, I think probably it should change for all of the label types at the same time. In real, yeah. Yeah, that was my understanding of how it did work, was that it returned the literal values on the display. And also the literal width and the literal height, which it was like adding the padding to weirdly. But it turns out my understanding was wrong. I don't know if my understanding is the intention, or like if it used to be that way and it changed at some point, or if I just always understood it incorrectly. Like, I think it's possible that I always understood it incorrectly because I don't think I have ever used bounding box for anything other than the width and the height. Because for some period of time, I'm pretty sure bounding box was the only way to access the width and the height. That might not be the case anymore. There might be on label base. Yeah, on label base, it has width and height, and it's just getting them from the bounding box. So you could argue that it still is. In fact, it's skipping going just to underscore, but we overrode it anyway in TextBox. I think these didn't exist maybe before the label based refactor, or before some point these didn't exist, and the only reason that I ever did use bounding box was to get the height and the width, which wouldn't matter if the X and Y are different in that case, so it's not matter too much. I found that model in my head, fell down once I looked at the tile grids too. Yeah, tile grids also have an extra layer of weirdness, because when you get width and height, that will be the units of tiles instead of pixels. There's a tile width and a tile height you can multiply by. Trying to get width and height of groups, but I found it didn't include widgets bounding boxes and had to get it from widgets directly. Yeah, groups. Yeah, the concept of a group doesn't have a width, unfortunately. I made a thing that tries to do that, which eventually I should push into a repo somewhere. Actually, just looked at this the other day. So I made this group size function right here, which will go through and try to calculate the size, the height and width of a group. Just looking at it right now, I will say that it doesn't, it won't work for nested groups, right? This is not recursive or anything, so it would only work for one layer of group. Like if your group had a couple tile grids and a label or something, this would correctly calculate its width and height based on the placement of all those things. But if your group had another group inside of it, it's not going to work. But I didn't need it to at the time. I was trying to just make a little sign scroller. Eventually, I will, eventually I'll publish this somewhere as like a scrolling helper matrix portal thing. And then, like, I would love if group itself actually had the ability to measure width, but it's tricky because it doesn't store anything. I don't necessarily think that we'll want to add height and width like actual field variables on the group object. So anytime you would access it, it would have to loop all the children in order to be correct. And then looping the children gets tricky if you have groups inside of groups because it'll be recursive, which I conveniently just didn't handle here. But if you wanted to put it in the core, you would have to handle that probably. I don't know if there'd be any desire to have that in the core. It doesn't even really need to be, truthfully, because it's fine inside Python code. I didn't really find it to be too slow or anything, but I can't say as though I did super stringent testing either. Okay, so let's take what I have done from my device here and get this back in the repo and pushed. Now we'll have a lot of changes because basically changed what we're extending. We have these empty. I need to go back and I need to either fill these in or something. I don't know for sure. So, well, we need to fill in the ones that don't apply to bitmap label, but the ones that do apply to bitmap label, I'm hoping we can just not put them and they will still show in the docs. I don't know if that's going to work, but that's my hope. And then if it doesn't work, then we'll copy paste a bunch of them over. But we need to have these ones separate as well because those are TextBox specific. That's right, then a bunch of stuff that got removed. Try changing the color and make sure that works at some point. All right, change that to be a subclass of bitmap label. As pushed, if anyone's interested in messing with that, that's pushed in my fork under the TextBox branch of display text. I will start wrapping it up now. So if you have questions or anything, definitely get those in the chat right away. This has been the deep dive, which is again weekly at this time, or the time that I started, which was about 2 hours ago, which is 4 p.m. Central US time, which is my time zone. So I think of it as 4 p.m., but it's usually billed as Pacific, which is where Scott's at, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, which is where Adafruit headquarters is at. So I will be back next week, I'm pretty sure. I think Scott comes back maybe in December or something. I don't know for sure. Don't rely on me for when Scott comes back, but he'll be back in a couple of weeks, I think. I don't know if he'll be doing deep dive. If he's not, then I will be here. If he when he's back, if he wants a deep dive, then he'll do a couple. But then he'll be gone again, and I'll be back again later on next year. In any case, I do also stream on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Central Time. So if you like this kind of in the weeds content working on CircuitPython related stuff, you can get more of it on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Central over on my channel instead of Adafruit, and I usually will drop links in the live broadcast chat when I get started. So if you're interested in that, just head over to the same live broadcast chat we see here. I'll drop links. If you want to get the heads up before I put the links, you can always follow me on Twitch and or YouTube, and then turn on the whatever that makes it so you get notices whenever I go live or something. You can do that if you like. I will be back tomorrow. We had a couple of weeks off, so I didn't do it last week or the week before, but I am back tomorrow. So 10 a.m. Central, I'll be back working on some more CircuitPython stuff. And I think that is it for me. Let me catch up on the last of the chat here. So like max children.width a time you ask for group width. Yeah, thank you for linking those, by the way. A bit expensive, but it would nicely to call through the sub. Yep. Yes. Yeah, exactly right. It would basically... So it's similar to what you say. It's not necessarily just max of all the children's width, because what you need to do is figure out, because like a child could have an X that's set, right? It could have a smaller width, but if its X is like, 200 or whatever, then you need to add its X to its width. So you need to find the max of the right edge, considering the right edge being X plus width of all your children. Which might be what you mean now that I have said all of that. It sounds like actually probably what max means. So yeah, take it easy, everybody. I hope you all have a good night, good rest of your weekend and everything. For those of you that join me tomorrow, I will see you in the morning. Otherwise, I believe I will be back next week, so I will see you then. So long, have a good day, be nice to people, have fun. See you later.